Rons, thank you for listening. We got to get through these days together. They're rough, man. They're rough. Where do we go from here? You have a Saints take? Come to the Covington Beer Garden. We're going to have a microphone and a recorder ready for you. And if you got a good take, we'll put it on air. That's at the Covington Beer Garden. You the man.
Look at uptown people like yeah. People up in Britain like yeah. Mid-city folks like yeah. People downtown man yeah.
Where you at, Hoodats? Welcome to this week's Pro Saints Talk. Been a minute, but unfortunately, we're going to reopen the wound from Thursday night. What happened? I go to put my kids down for bed and come back, George, and 2 pick sixes later, it's a fiasco. But let's focus on how you're doing, George. How you living?
Ron, I'm living lavish, and it's not often that I take the opportunity or this blessing of a platform to talk to many of y'all. But, some things are bigger than football and the Saints and being part of Ron Nation, and that's our health. And one of our main Rons out there, Colin Keith, is suffering from a devastating cold. He's got a sore throat. He's hit a fever the other day, got up to 101. And I don't want him to think that he's fighting that battle by himself. And Colin, man, we're all here with you, man. We hope you have a speedy recovery. There's a lot of doctors that follow Pro Saints Talk. I think maybe a nurse or two. And, health is so important, and we're all fighting that battle with you as you get over this cold. So, Colin, all the prayers for you, man. All the support out there. We love you so much, Colin. Get back on your feet as soon as you can.
Thoughts and prayers. Yes.
You know how those colds can be,
Seek
man.
medical attention if needed, Colin. Come on, we can't lose you to this. All right, Jay, how we doing, man?
Good. Luka just missed a 3, but, man, he's fun to watch. What vision he has. Be fun to see Luka at quarterback. Maybe next time Dak gets hurt, they go to Luka instead of Cooper Rush.
Wow. Okay, so vision. Great segue there, Jay. Let's talk about vision. What is your vision for Thursday night? I mean, what kind of vision did Andy Dalton have when he's making some of the decisions he had that he made there at the end of the first half?
It was unfortunate because first interception, you get down there, you're driving the ball on them all game. One was just a bad throw. The other was a tip pass. But after, to make another basketball analogy here, Ron, the Pelicans tonight are without Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Herb Jones. The Saints were without, prominent guys on both sides of the ball. And they were in the game at offense, moving the ball, and then you just have back-breaking mistakes. And unfortunately, that's become the common theme. And after that interception, the second one, you felt like all the wind was out of the sails for the Hoodats going forward.
Yeah, George, I paused this game when it was 14-6. I had dad duty this particular night. Go put the kids down, come back, hit play. I'm not checking the phone, not checking any updates, just watching the game progress. Up 14-12, up 14-14, up 21-14, up 28-14. I mean, we end up just kneeling it out. It was the most embarrassing end to a first half of Saints football I could remember, George. I mean, what is going through your mind as you watch what looked like, man, we're moving the ball. And then all of a sudden it just gets out of control.
What do I think? I think you make the boy watch, Ron. You make the boy watch. Whoa, you think being a Saints fan is all Sean Payton and Drew Brees and Super Bowl rings? No, we had to go swim through many of bad sewage water days, many volcano lava days, dreadful crying, drowning yourself in tears to bed nights because we had to suffer through the Billy Joe Hobarts, the Billy Joe Tollivers, the Mike Ditka days. We're back in it. Make the boy watch, Ron. Don't put him to bed. Make him suffer through it to build his character so the next time we are amidst in a golden era, we can appreciate it. So the only thing I can
Like
say is
the old adage, George, can't go over it, can't go around it. You got to go
through it.
Through it.
Come on, Ron. Make the boy watch. Then you have one of us for life.
Hey, I'm sure he's going to have plenty more opportunities as we go forward here. All right, Jay, I mean, take you back. I felt like I was going back to undergrad, man, watching freaking Jarrett Lee back there with the pick sixes, dude. It was bringing up some bad memories. And that's really, like, I hate to just boil this game down to that, but
pride of Brenham, Texas. Jarrett Lee.
I hate to just boil it down to that, but I mean, that's really it's the story of the game. I mean, we let it get way out of hand, gave up a touchdown pretty early on in the second half, I think. And then, you're down 3 scores at that point. And so it's just out of reach. And so what seemed like a night where Dalton was moving the ball, I heard people comparing him back to Jameis, and I don't know. It's just a little getting outside of what should be our game plan. George, I guess I want to flip it back to you for the question of the week. Every week is red zone usage of Taysom. I mean, I think I saw multiple examples where we're getting down second, third down and goal, and Taysom's on the sidelines. I mean, what gives with this?
I don't know. I don't know where to begin. You look at the offensive line and just say, what happens when you get in the red zone? You just get less dominant and unable to finish and ram it down their throats. You think, I don't know, because it's kind of one of those things where we can get the ball between the 20s downfield quite quickly because Olave's, he shines there. But do we not have that one guy, that Deuce McAllister type player that can just finish? The clear answer is, yeah, you have clickbait, use him, and yet you keep him on the sideline, which at times is very baffling because when we need a finisher this season, we've turned to him and he succeeded, and he's probably the only guy who has. Mark Ingram, he's showing you some toughness between the tackles, but that's here and there. It's not very consistent. And clickbait's pretty much the only guy we have that shows you some toughness and some grit that's going to fight to get past the goal line, because everyone else is quite finesse, especially when Mike Thomas is out. And going back to that pick six, Mike Thomas isn't volleyballing that ball in the air like Callaway. Mike Thomas is essential, crucial, vital, paramount to this offense on so many levels. And as Jake keeps talking about the Pelicans, everyone knows their role on this team, and that's why guys can go out and then Larry Nance can step up, or Jose Alvarado comes off the bench and steps up. I feel like the Saints, I'm bidding this, I feel like deja vu. Here I am on a Tuesday night saying this again, but I feel like no one knows their roles really on this team, and they're just going out and running the play, but it's not like how it used to be where you knew where Darren Sproles, his agenda on each play was going to be, where Jimmy Graham was going to be on each play, what Colson was going to do on each play, because they each had a specific duty that they did well, whereas nowadays it's far, 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 far cry from that.
Yeah, Jay, we've talked about it for a couple of weeks now. Saints are sitting dead last, 32 in the league in turnover differential, minus 10. The next worst team is Indianapolis at minus 7. And so that's why you get fan questions like Boogie asking, how bad is this going to get? I mean, we're already tracking and trending for a top 5 pick. We all know where that pick is going. I mean, I got people asking realistically, what's the best outcome for this season? I mean, why should I have any hope? These are the kinds of questions we're getting, Jay. So where do we go from here?
Thanks for kicking me this one. Spirit of Halloween.
If Jay is the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, if Gail comes to you and says, hey, we just relieved Dennis Allen of his duties, you're in charge, what are you telling this team right now?
Need some inspiration, and that should come from the hope that of the terrible division that you're playing in, and you're a game back, and the opportunities are there. And if you look back at each game, if you look back at each loss, it's not like reflecting on them, you got blown out of the water. Shot in the foot has been used so many times by beat writers and everybody that follows this team that it sounds so redundant at this point, and they're only saying it because it's true. But if you can correct those mistakes, I think there's hope. But unfortunately, it seems like we have a sample size now that we're 7 games through that you hope it gets better and better. But to each game, it's like creating a new way to fuck it up. George was talking about the offense, and I think the biggest thing with the offense is untimely turnovers and maybe lack of production in the red zone. But offense, if you look at some of the numbers now, this might be a situation or a result of the scenarios that the Saints have been in, but they're near the top of the league in offense, which is pretty impressive considering all the people that you're missing and who's playing quarterback. So I don't really think you can point the finger at Carmichael. Yes, he's made some questionable calls and mistakes, but defense, I mean, to me, that looks night and day difference. And one of the absences that maybe we haven't made or given as much light as it deserves is Dennis Allen being in that head coach seat and not having a front row seat to that defense and not being the voice that they hear every day, and him not having the attention to give to that unit. I mean, obviously there have been a lot of injuries, but that unit has struggled tremendously. And
okay, let's touch on that. Let's touch on that.
Sean Payton let the offense go when he became head coach.
Well, yeah. So let's touch on that in 1 second, George, because I wanted to just get your 2 cents on this too, because the liability's asking about it. Jay just talked about it. Like, somebody's got to come in and say something. Well, Alvin Kamara said something. He addressed the media after the game saying, hey, we got to get our swagger back. And when they're asking about, hey, what happens now? He's adamant about, we ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. And so, all right, George, you got Alvin Kamara addressing the team and the media like this, but I guess flip it to you, same question. How do you get this team swagger back right now?
I'll tell you right now, Ron. Picture this. March 2023. No Saints football. And you're talking to Jay on the phone. You're talking to Ron on the phone. You talk about the draft. That's cool. That's fun. Free agency. That's all right. Oh, the dog days of summer. No football. Oh, training camp. Guys, it's still the Saints. Even a bad season's better than no season. We're only a game behind in the division. It's not that bad. I mean, it's bad. Okay. It's bad. But come on. It's still the Saints. It's still the regular season. We're only a game behind. Tom Brady doesn't care out there. The Falcons are still bad. I mean, it's not like we're going to win the Super Bowl. I get that. And it's not like we're a fun team. But we can steal some wins here or there. We can compete to win the division. So one of those questions, I think it was Drew's, is like, what's the best outcome? I'd say competing to be in a neck and neck division race will probably be the ultimate this season gives us. And that's all right. That's all right. I mean, it's not good.
Oh, well, hey, we're in a neck and neck division race, baby.
Come on, it's not so bad. We got a little something there. And
we could still hang a banner this year, George.
We could maybe even win the division if there's some apocalyptic collapses in Tampa and Atlanta. So, look, there's a little ray of hope here and there. We're only a game behind. Plenty of football left. The defense might figure it out. They might not. But, hey, got the Raiders. We got a little hope here. If the Buccaneers were 6-1, if the Buccaneers were 6-1, then I'd be like, oh, blow it up, trade him, trade them, and then it's over. But look, there's still hope. Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
You heard it here first. If we reach the divisional round of the playoffs, we'll take an RV to the game.
Choo choo.
Oh, all right, all right. Okay, Jay, you were getting at a great point that I love. I love this point. We're scratching our heads at, I think a lot of Rons saw the stats that were showed on national television about where this offense ranks in terms of production under Dalton. And yeah, it should come as a shock. Like, the offense has not been bad. I think those stats are a little bit skewed from maybe playing from behind a little bit, but let's give them their due. I mean, they have moved the ball. We've been putting points up on the board. It's the defense. And so, all right, Jay, what do you think about this dynamic where you've got, yes, former defensive coordinator, effective defensive coordinator over some really tight run defenses, some tough, gritty defenses, gets promoted to head coach. What does he do? Oh, I'm going to have co-defensive coordinators in our boy Chris Richard and Ryan Nielsen. Is it too many cooks in the kitchen? Is there not one clear leader? Is he hands off because he's trying to let these guys get their shot at running it? I don't know. Is it like mixed messages from the players? They don't know who's the real boss? What is it?
Yeah, it's confusing for me to figure out. Like, I don't know, is DA still calling the defenses? I think there's some coaches that have the bandwidth, George, like Sean Payton, to be the offensive coordinator and to be a great head coach. But there's some that do not. And I don't know who's calling the plays on defense, but something that is clear to me, like Richard, Nielsen, I don't know a lot about those guys. They both seem like fiery personalities, but from those coordinator, head coach positions, leadership is missing. Like, I feel like we've looked like directionless in our first 7 games. And when you hear about Alvin Kamara saying something, to me, if I'm reading the tea leaves on that, it's he's saying something because he feels like he has to, and they're not. Earlier in the season, he had a quote where he's talking about, we're fumbling, we're having these turnovers in the game because we're doing it all the time at practice. Well, your head coach should say something. That shouldn't be tolerated, right? It's good that he's taking the initiative to say something, but that should come from the top down. And the only evidence that I've seen is Dennis Allen on the sideline, and the blank face that we talked about many times on this podcast. There's nothing that demonstrates anything differently that he would be doing at practice than he's doing at the game. And I think that's why you have an undisciplined team.
Yeah, he just seems so hands off. I don't know. There's just something about it that he seems like he's just perfectly content with just sitting back and letting things play out the way they're going to play out. Like, George, they interviewed him coming out of halftime. I don't know if it was going into the locker room or coming out of the locker room. But, reporter asked point blank, like, what do you tell Andy Dalton after that, back-to-back pick sixes? Like, what the heck do you tell him? He's like, oh, nothing. Oh, no, he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. No, he doesn't. Dude, I get that one of those was Marquez Callaway, but the other 2 were bad decisions on his part. So, like, that kind of stuff right there, like, nip it in the bud. Like, say, no, that's unacceptable. We don't tolerate those kinds of standards. We got to not turn the ball over. George, I mean, what is going on here with his leadership? I know we're only 7 weeks in, but do you have the patience for this? Do you think our Saints ownership is going to have the patience for this?
Wait. You just said, do you not remember the episode 2 weeks ago when Jay and I were calling for his head? You said, be patient. And I said, okay, you be patient, and like, you watch this. And now look at you. Even you have flipped the coin.
I know. I'm watching his standards, at least what he gives you. I'm watching what his standards are. Dude, and it's like Jay's boy said, like, this is what we're tolerating.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. All I can say is I agree. I've been saying that all year. I feel like we're beating this topic to a dead horse. Even Bobby Hebert, who's on the WWL, 870 Gail Benson payroll, is even saying he's in over his head. And this is less than half the season into the year. More than even into the halfway of the first season. It's just like, this guy can't hang.
Well, okay, I don't understand how he can't hang, like particularly on this subject. So we just got done talking about how he was a successful defensive coordinator. He had this Saints defense, I mean, performing as one of the
Lonnie
best.
Kiffin, it
He
happens.
had hear me
You
out here. I
see
mean,
it.
he's had this team performing. And now, George, what did you see this past Thursday? And what have you been seeing all year? Tackling has been a joke this
Oh,
year.
execution, pre-snap,
Execution, tackling,
penalties,
effort, whatever you want to call
turnovers.
it. Okay, so I guess I know we've got some different dogs in the hunt out there. We got some different horses, but like not a lot different. Why is tackling such a big problem?
Effort. Honey Badger lost his feistiness. Think of who he was in LSU, who he was as a Cardinal, who he was as a Chief. I mean, the guy was ferocious, and he was just so fun. He was a human turnover machine. He's a shell of himself. If he didn't have the same,
playing two-hand touch out there.
If he didn't have the same last name on the jersey, you would not say, "Oh, that's Tyrann Mathieu." That's Jarius Byrd out there, and it's sad. I think he came here and received so much adoration and praise and was just the man. And it's what happens. It goes to your head and you lose your grit. And it's happening before us, and it's awful. You have to bench him soon. If he wasn't a starting, if he wasn't Tyrann Mathieu, he'd be benched. He's playing like a UDFA.
Yeah, George, we talked about that.
He played with the lack of grit, George, but also a lack of ability at this point. And the combination of those two is not good.
Yeah, Jay, like George and I were talking about this, when he brought up Jarius Byrd, and I was like, man, I would take Byrd at this point, but like I think the parallels of their play, it's like we got Byrd, he's coming off this back injury, and he's just never the same. He plays soft. He was 35 yards off the ball at the snap, and he'd be retreating at the snap, and that's all he did was just retreat, and that's what I see out of Mathieu. Like, dude, he is in position to go up and make a tackle, and he's just backpedaling like, oh, well, let me slow him down or divert him for somebody else to make the play. It's like, no, dude, go in and dive at the freaking legs. I would honestly rather see him make a Minneapolis Miracle whiff at this point. At least show me something, dude. I don't know. So I guess I'm just saying, like, it is mind-boggling to me that we don't have the same ferocity that we had under Dennis Allen. Like, we don't have the same attitude as a defense that we had when Dennis Allen was a defensive coordinator, now that he's the head coach. Like, we have not assumed any of that identity as a team. And I don't get it. I don't get what is the hang-up when you got freaking Eno Benjamin ripping off runs and shedding tackles like we're a peewee football team.
Enu.
So, all right.
Jay, on a more positive note, Ron, and the conversation is valid because it was happening before these injuries. It was happening before Lattimore, Adebo, Roby's now on IR. Who do we have coming back this week?
Dude, I try to look at that before our podcast. The injury report's not out yet, and it could be scary because now Roby's on IR, Lattimore's not back yet, Adebo's very, very questionable. Alontae Taylor played well in his return from the IR last week, but dude, Chris Harris Jr., remember him from the Broncos? We put him in an emergency situation last week.
Yeah, he was guarding DeAndre Hopkins.
Dude, it's getting pretty our secondary went from us so proud of them to like head scratching who we got? Who's up next? I had to like
back to the doldrum days of when we were signing Earth Wind Moreland. You're like, yo, I heard he looked good in training camp for the Jets.
BW Webb and Sterling
BW
Moore.
Webb, Sterling Moore, Devontae Harris.
No fly zone.
And
his brother.
Oh, man, my boy Dixon.
Twins.
Yeah, dude. I actually randomly came across him on Instagram the other day. Yeah, Jay, Monday practice report. I mean, just broken record. Thomas didn't practice. Landry didn't practice. Pete didn't practice. Troutman didn't practice. Lattimore didn't practice. I mean, it's all the usual suspects that you hate to see out there. But yeah, you want to talk about a positive. Jay, your boy Alontae Taylor, like George just said, admirable performance, I would say, in the first start. I mean, I didn't George. Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins got his. He was targeted a bunch, but we didn't give up. I thought, any major, big plays in the secondary, at least, unless I'm, just having a total mental lapse right now. I think, Jay, I mean, we kind of called this going in, right? We kind of called that Kyler Murray was going to give us some trouble, just like Mariota did. He does that with everybody in the NFL. I guess
honestly, on the second half got a little hazy for me after those pick sixes.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like I said, yeah, it just kind of felt like it was out of reach that whole second half. I mean, it just kind of felt like the game was over, and
the body language was bad on the sidelines too.
Oh, you saw that going in? Like, it was end of the third, start of the fourth, and they just showed like 3 or 4 people up and down our sideline. Couple of them being Dalton and Jameis, and nobody's talking. Everyone was just stone cold, staring into the ground.
Defeated.
Yeah. And it's like, man, we got a whole nother quarter of this. Excellent. Let's do it. Let's pad them stats. And you did see some of that stat padding. Godfather was all over it, George, in fantasy, starting Juwan Johnson. So you want to talk about a bright spot? There's your boy Juwan getting his.
2 Sunday Night Footballs ago, did you see that Broncos linebacker tear his ACL when he went to run into that NFL employee with the green hat who was holding the card?
Yeah.
What do those guys do? They look really intellectual and handsome and just important. But it made me just think about what those guys do and how important they are to the game. And I just think that people are kind of like that. People are like bashing that role, saying, "What's that guy doing on the sideline? Is he superfluous? Not necessarily risk."
I'll say this:
maybe that guy should have had his head on a swivel a bit more. But I can just tell it's a very important role that gets a bit underappreciated.
Well, I'll say this: I mean, look, on that given night, clearly he was just taking up space in the way, led to a devastating injury that may cost the guy millions of dollars, really, in the big picture.
Well, in the big picture, that guy's also making him millions of dollars.
Some would even ask why some would ask, is it a redundant position? Why does it even really need to exist if everyone really identifies the TV timeouts by the guy with the orange mittens, right? The guy with the big elbow-long gloves that looks like he's Ron Popeil pulling something out of the Showtime barbecue or something.
Somebody needs to control that guy because they can go a bit out of control sometimes.
Boo Crew Media put up a Twitter question today about that. Did y'all see that?
No. What'd they say?
Was the green hat NFL employee's injury of the Broncos linebacker more egregious than the Tennessee Titans NFL employee mascot tearing Adrian McPherson's ACL on the card of that preseason game?
I mean, in terms of who lost more, I mean, we'll never know the true potential of Adrian McPherson.
I'm not acknowledging a Brew Crew Media question.
They didn't put that's
hey, I love Brew Crew Media. I love Brew Crew Media out there. We love them all.
Adrian McPherson from
Florida State. Jake,
Florida State.
Great question. That we love Brew Crew Media. I'm just having fun. We love them. But no, I just wonder what that guy did. So I was just curious.
Adrian McPherson lining up under guard in preseason. You gotta love it.
Guys,
I think he's the guy that says, "Don't go to timeout. Show the guy that's injured." And then as soon as he gets to the sideline, all right, TV timeout.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna watch that guy. I'm not gonna watch that guy this Sunday game.
Jay, that's the guy who you go to commercial break, for a turnover, right? Turnover, TV timeout. You come back from commercial break. Oh, we're gonna now review this turnover in further detail. Go back to commercial break.
That doesn't happen. That's college.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the NFL.
Definitely seen it happen. So I think it happens.
No.
Are we playing this week?
Yeah,
Raiders.
Jay, that's a great topic to maybe move forward to. Raiders ain't looking too much better. I mean, yeah, they're coming off a win, and I know because I am quickly climbing up the fantasy rankings thanks to Josh Jacobs that he's going to present an even bigger challenge than freaking Eno Benjamin is going to in terms of being able to tackle this dude, get this guy on the ground. George, what's the game plan? Give us your pep talk to this defense for stopping Josh Jacobs.
I don't know, man. The
Oh,
energy.
wow. I'm
I mean,
fired up.
dude,
I'm ready to
No,
tackle him
wait,
now.
What if
I don't
if you're
know,
in the
man.
locker room if you're talking to the defense in the locker room, is it Pete Werner? Do what he does.
Yeah, Ron. I mean, it starts with effort. The effort's not there. Especially, have we seen the DTs make a play all year? Honestly, I feel like every time the Saints run, Kamara has to dodge a tackle before he even gets to the line
Malcolm
of scrimmage.
Roach almost forced that fumble at the goal line this past week, but the ball crossed the plane.
Dude, and going back to the whole division, there's not many players in this entire division that are Pro Bowl talents. You got Jamel Dean, you got J.C. Horn, maybe Devin White, who looks a bit like he took a step back. It's like this whole division is lackluster.
On the topic of lackluster, Jay, give us an update on that Pels game.
Pels win in dramatic fashion. Luka missing a step back three with Devontae Graham on him. One that Luka hit earlier in the game with 7-footer Jackson Hayes all over him. Just a gutsy effort by this young Pelicans team without Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Herb Jones missing about 57 points per game plus defense in Herb Jones, and just a statement win in a long season, but one that will go a long way the rest of the way, Ron.
Something else about that game, Luka stopped his dribble and then fell down, and all the Pelicans looked at the referee for travel, and even Luka looked up at the ref, didn't call it, and then had a bullet bounce pass down low for an assist. Have you ever seen that before? To me, that was crazy. If a guy falls without it being a foul, it's a travel, correct?
It should be.
Right. Pivot up.
Yeah, it's a travel. Okay, that was just a conundrum I saw that caught my eye.
Could have been a crab walk. I don't know.
Ron, the other thing is with the Saints, with it still being October and the Saints not doing well like we're talking about, it's good to see that the Smoothie King Center sold out on Sunday night, Tuesday night, strong crowd. It's just good to watch Pels games and not see all those empty seats in the lower bowl.
Especially in October.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I'll be honest. I mean, NBA season hasn't really started for me yet. I mean, you still got playoff baseball going on right now. We are in like literally the middle of the NFL season. I mean, basketball is on second to last, if not the last burner for me right now. So, but all that being said, yeah, Pels are something exciting this year. Wow,
Padres,
dude. Seriously?
Savannah Bananas.
Dude, Padres, the luck ended, dude. The red hot Phillies with the even hotter Astros. Come on, man. Get with the times.
I wanted to see Padres Mariners.
You can't always get what you want, man. Mariners, good story. Better luck next year. All right. That was basketball and baseball by Pro Saints Talk. So
NFC South on a question about the Raiders. I
don't think we're done talking NFC South. I mean, we could just certainly get into that topic. I guess I just wanted to ask Jay, the resident expert on football, because George doesn't know anything, what he thought about bigger fear, Jay. Bigger fear this week with.
All right.
Bigger fear this week with Derek Carr and gosh, this is bad. He's on my freaking fantasy team. Devontae Adams and or was it last week with the return of DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray?
I think my antenna's more up this week, especially considering Roby's out, and if George is saying that Adebo looks like he's not going to play either, with Carr being more of a true pocket passer type player than Kyler Murray, I'd say I've got more fear going against this Raiders quarterback receiver duo than I do Kyler DeAndre.
All right, George, same question. I mean, I feel like you're a Kyler Murray guy. And so same question. Were you more worried last week than you are right now going into Adams
No.
and Carr?
I'm terrified of our secondary. We just lost Roby. Our defense was already paper thin going against the Cardinals, and now versus the Raiders, it's even thinner. Dude, it's gonna get bad, like really bad on D. There's already no pressure, and now there's gonna be bad coverage. It's gonna be the Browner days all over again.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess this is what I'll say to that. I mean, it was hard to rush the passer against Kyler Murray, and same way with Mariota. Like, it's just hard to get to those guys. Derek Carr does not present that kind of threat. So I just feel like I would hope that, I don't know who it is, whether it's Dennis Allen, whether it's Richard, whether it's Nielsen, somebody's got to dial up the blitzes this week, get a spark. Jeez, if we could force a turnover, that would be incredible.
Ron,
sack fumble.
Question for you. Between Peyton Turner, Marcus Davenport, Cam Jordan, you have 4 first-round picks invested in those 3 defensive ends. Yet, Cam in his 12th year has probably 3 more sacks than Turner and Davenport combined. Why aren't you getting that pressure, and why haven't Turner and Davenport specifically, and Turner in year 2 and Davenport in year 4 respectively, what's holding these guys back?
They don't have it. I mean, I think they just don't have it. And just to validate the stat that you just brought up, take a whopping guess how many sacks Peyton Turner has. I mean, dude's only appeared in 2 games this year, so he's got a goose egg. And Davenport, I think, has only been credited with a half. I think Cam's sitting at 4.5, and personally, I think he got screwed. I think he should be at around 5. I think there was one where he gave him a half, and it really wasn't. It wasn't a half. But anyway, yeah, I don't think those guys have it. So one, Peyton Turner and Davenport have, they lack the worst ability, and I said that wrong. They lack the best ability, availability. Cam Jordan, always available, has played an incredible number of snaps in his career. That's starting to taper off now, but yeah, he's still outproducing these guys. So I have to think that when they're out there, they don't have it. And yet, George, somebody clearly sees something in these guys. Because if you were watching Saturday night college football, after the Tigers, had their great comeback victory against the Rebs, sorry Baldwin, sorry Boogie. I know y'all are second fans to the Wave, but sorry for y'all's alumni status. I've just been drunk off corn dogs over here. But if you were watching the Bama game that night against State, you had freaking Shefty interrupting college football on a Saturday night to talk NFL. I guess they needed content to fill the void. And he's talking about teams that would be interested in shopping and trading players. And first thing out of his mouth, he talks about, well, you take a look at a team like the Saints and Marcus Davenport. George, what would you pay right now for Marcus Davenport?
As in, like, if I were the Chiefs or a team that wanted to add an edge rusher?
I mean, clear. He was citing teams like the Rams. I don't know, but what could somebody be willing to actually give up?
He's on expiring.
No more than a third-round pick.
Yeah. So Ron, if Davenport went to another team and succeeded, That would be so much worse than seeing Sean Payton go to another team, even if it's the Panthers, and succeed. That would be the most revolting sight as a Saints fan after we've been Christ-like in our patience with him to then see him prosper somewhere else. That's going to
He
happen.
might get a flash, but Ron's right. That guy doesn't care about football, man.
No, he's a child in a man's body. But I'm just trying to be funny here. A bit Ralph Walrover take about how infuriating that would be to see him succeed. His trade value would be very, very minimal. Speaking of trade value, James Robinson, 6th-round draft pick. God, wouldn't you take him to run up the middle? We can't get a red zone touchdown. Give it to James Robinson. And it's way too soon to start talking about offloading our players when we're still a game behind the division. If Tom Brady was running away with it, that's one thing, but we're still in the hunt.
But yeah. I think now, George, as far as being an attractive time to sell, where you talked about earlier how the pinnacle of this team would be to make a playoffs at 8 wins, while you could play to that with other teams that think they might be a player or two away to win a championship, and acknowledge as an organization that you're not going to do that this year and try to recover some of the capital that you've lost in some of these trades. I think that's the reason why you hear the speculation.
I honestly think the speculation comes from people that don't watch Saints football and have not kept up with this dude's career. Because you read all this stuff, you hear all these people talk about Davenport. They're like, oh, consistent run defender and pass rusher, disruptive, yada, yada, yada. Like, you hear all these great accolades for this dude, and you're just like, these people don't watch this guy play, do they? Like, yes, he quote unquote broke out last year with 9 sacks, but I mean, the dude is just so unavailable all the time.
Wait, weren't 3 of those in week 17 in a meaningless game?
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah.
I think 3 of those were against the Falcons in week 17.
Right.
Ron,
right.
George, now's probably a good time for Khalifa's question. This one for Ron. With over 45 points in each of his last 2 games and 9 touchdowns, and what he can do with his legs, JT Daniels seems to be on a Joe Burrow trajectory. What do you think about the Saints grabbing JT Daniels with the 33rd pick in the draft next year?
Are we talking about Jalen?
Yeah, he said JT, the Georgia transfer.
All right. Well, I know that George would just love it. I know Boogie would love it even more if we just got more LSU jerseys in the dome. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if we got my boy Jaden Daniels in there, it'd be dynamic. It'd be something. We need some kind of excitement around here. I don't know, because George, next question from our boy Stefan Anthony Barrios. How long until the Saints do make that decision to blow it up and start moving expensive vets for picks? Like, what is your cutoff point for record-wise?
When the division's out of reach.
Well, that may be never.
Can I? Well, then you keep it.
When the trade deadline's over?
Yeah, you have a chance to win the division. You don't blow it up. I know what Jay's saying about big picture, and if you can't win the Super Bowl, then get as much as you can. If you can win the division, that's a fight worth fighting. Don't blow it up. Okay, can I give you all a name? I said it on GroupMe, all y'all rolled your eyes. Taylor Heineke, if he had a whole offseason where he had the support of the organization and he had a good team around him and a good culture and not a Dan Snyder team, I have faith he would be a damn good Jake Delhomme, Jeff Garcia, Ryan Fitzpatrick quarterback. That will be a pretty damn decent quarterback, not damn good, but damn decent quarterback that you could probably pay, around $10 million a year, and then have plenty of money left over to throw at the other key positions out there and not be suffocated by paying your quarterback too much. I think there's great value with Taylor Heineke as he goes from age 29 to 33 to be a quarterback that could win you some games not blow you some games, and you can build around because he doesn't have a Russell Wilson contract. I think he's got a bright future.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take that into consideration, George. But when I look at the field of unrestricted free agent quarterbacks for 2023, and yes, we are talking about this in week 8, but there are some names that I would consider. And look, things are going to change, right? The season's going to play out. Some of these guys might get deals, but Jimmy Garoppolo, he's out there. Daniel Jones, now they keep it up. Giants are going to retain him, I think. Geno reinvigorating the career. Taylor Heineke, your boy, unrestricted, and then Lamar Jackson, if we can pry him out of Baltimore.
Did Trevor Siemian led Saints beat Taylor Heineke last year?
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm pretty sure that was a W for us.
Simeon beat Tom Brady.
Tom Brady also going to be an unrestricted free agent. Just throwing it out there. All right. Jay, let's see. Let's just make sure we checked all the boxes on the Raiders. Home game, Halloween weekend. I feel like this is always a very random, at least it's random to me because I'm not a big Halloween guy, but I feel like the Halloween game is strangely like one of the most hyped up atmospheres all year long in the Dome. Does that give them any boost?
Trevor Siemian versus Tom Brady last year on Halloween. Hell of a game.
That's what I'm saying, man. Something about the Halloween Dome game. You think back to that Steelers game several years back. Just something about this game that kind of gets people excited.
If there's any toothpaste left in that tube before you have to go out to the pharmacy, you feel like this is the game where you got to muster it out, because you're coming off a Thursday night game where you have 10 days. You're playing a team that is good, but really hasn't found their rhythm yet. Who knows if they will this year. It's a beatable team coming from a mini bye with, sitting back on the couch. You would hope that those 53 guys that put on the uniform on Sunday draw some inspiration from knowing the games or the divisions one game out, and also knowing that you haven't had a lot of success at the Superdome yet, or in recent years, and it's important to protect home field. So hopefully, at the least, we're on the efforts better.
All right. So talking about effort being better, I got something to say on here. I got a confession to make. I'm seeing more effort at the helipad than I've ever seen UTO. I got to just call a spade a spade. I loved UTO. I put my heart and soul into UTO, but RIP UTO. It's dead. It's been dead for several weeks now. I just didn't want to admit it to Ron Nation just yet. But now I'm officially ready to, deliver its eulogy and proclaim the rebirth at the helipad. Our boy Tony, he's truly got a legitimate setup. I invite all y'all Rons to come witness and admire the legitimacy of this tailgate. There is an easy up tent. There is a trash bag tied to said easy up tent. We have become civilized. This is like the Sumerians forming the first civilization. We have evolved from UTO to the helipad, so we need to embrace the new tailgate, new beginnings, new outlook on this season. It's very much like Alvin Kamara coming and addressing the players himself. We had to we had to come and address it ourselves. We couldn't let somebody come in and do it for us. And so, yeah, we're owning our own destiny now. And so, George, We need to see you out there, man. You need to come check out the helipad. Jay, you gotta check this place out.
I don't believe in your
I
heresy.
can
Your
verbally
blasphemy.
attest to the legitimacy of the helipad tailgate.
You sound like the Calvinists and the Lutherans saying, "Hey, it's not so good to leave. It's not so bad to leave the Catholic Church. Yeah, enjoy the eternal damnation." No, I'm not giving up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Ron,
We welcome everyone
everybody
under the tent at the helipad.
Catholic, Protestants, Hebrews, you name it. I can't go.
Oh,
Ron.
I'll tell you one thing we don't welcome, George, are sleeves. Vetters can attest to that.
Very good, very good. Ron, I'll be needing to do something before the game, at the game, so I will not make it this Sunday, but I will be there maybe after the game or in spirit. But Ron, I think that was a great testament to how fantastic UTO was for generations. Tent City killed it. When I went by in the preseason and saw that Tent City was taking it over, that just marked the end. But guys, Raiders, are we gonna win? What's the weather like? Do we pack a jacket? Do we wear a sweater? Do we not have sleeves? Are we gonna get cold?
Umbrellas?
Umbrellas? Tents? Red? The weatherman?
Hey Rons, it's Red, the weatherman. And this Sunday, October 30th, that's right Rons, the day before Halloween, so make sure you wear your costume. We got a noon kickoff. You got the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome. Well, let's get right on over to the weather, Rons, as I know we play in a dome, but a lot of you all will be tailgating. With a high of 73, it's going to feel like 74. A 12% chance of rain, 23% cloud coverage in the immediate area, a brisk west wind at 9 to 21 miles per hour. I am predicting the conditions for the game to be mostly sunny and pleasant. And remember, Rons, one important thing. Whether you like it or not, it's Red, the weatherman.
Wow. You can never predict the weather unless you got Weatherman Red. Man, love to have him as part of this podcast. Hey, tell you all about the next dude you'd love to have on this podcast. You know, there was a news report out that Louisianians made $4 million in gambling winnings, something like that. Man, if you've been listening to this podcast, you probably won 8. So let's kick it to your favorite segment, The Godfather.
Hey, good. How you doing? What do you hear? What do you say, Rons? What else is there to say about this Saints team? They're dead. D-E-D, dead. What are we doing? We're at home against Vegas. 2-point dogs against the Raiders. At home, Halloween weekend. It doesn't matter what the atmosphere is like in the dome. The atmosphere in that locker room is like a library. It's like a library full of nuns. They got no leadership, no nothing. Give me the Raiders to cover the 2, double it, triple it, quadruple it, do an alternate spread. This team is dead. Reflection of their coach, who, you know, I've seen mortuaries more lively than the Saints sideline this year. Buckle in, boys. We're not going to have fun this year, and it's going to be even worse. April, May in the draft when we see, you know, the Eagles with a top 5 pick. Just a piss poor year. All right, let's go on to the rest of the card. We're just going to hold our noses this week and take some dogs. This is just one of those weeks where you don't know why, but you just take the dogs. For example, give me the Lions plus 3.5. They blew it for us last week, fumbling on the 1-yard line, turnover after turnover. Looked like the Saints, dirty Campbell over there is going to get them ready to go. I don't see real much from this Miami team that gets me all hot and bothered. Give me the Lions at home, 3.5 point dogs. We got the hook. You need the hook. Make sure you get that hook out there. All right, another one. Aaron Rodgers, 10.5-point dog. I know they're not playing well. I know they got problems everywhere. But I just can't not take an opportunity to get double-digit points with Aaron Rodgers. I know Ralph Wilson Stadium is going to be going nuts. Sunday Night Football. You got the best player in football. You got the best team in football. They're going to win. Not double digits. Not double digits. Give me A-Rod to keep it close. The Bills will win, but give me A-Rod to keep it close. All right. Pittsburgh, Philly. Road Warriors this week. Give me the Steelers. 10.5-point dogs with Mike Tomlin. In a little civil war inside the great state. The great state of Pennsylvania. Give me the Steelers. Give me the Steelers at the link. Another 10.5-point dog. I don't understand these crazy lines lately. You know what? We will take a favorite this week. We're gonna take a favorite because I don't see the Giants. They're just smoke and mirrors, man. Every time you turn around, they're getting a turnover. Something crazy shit is happening in their game. I really like the way Seattle's playing. They got Kenny Luke Skywalker over there. They're toting the rock. Geno's Cheesesteak Smith over there. Really slinging it. The Giants got to go cross country after flying down to Jacksonville. Now, it's not the worst flight in the world, but then they got to turn around and fly all the way to Seattle. That's no easy feat. They just came back from London. They've been flying all over the place. Give me the Seahawks, the Birds, laying the 3. We're feeling pretty good about that. All right. Last but not least, going back to the well. I hate this fucking guy, Sean McVay. San Francisco got a little medicine, a little taste of humble pie last weekend, like I told you they would. But Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay. It doesn't matter where they're playing. The surface of Mars, Carrollton and Claiborne. It don't matter. Kyle Shanahan owns this Rams team. We're laying 1.5 on the road. It's not a road game. Nobody plays road games in LA. But laying 1.5 against the Rams. McCaffrey's finally got a week in the system. He looked good last week. I still think the Rams, even though I know they're coming off the bye, they've been kind of hapless this year. Give me San Fran, laying a 1.5. All right there. Enjoy the weekend. Got another great sports weekend. We got World Series. The Murder Birds, the Baby Birds on a roll. I was in the blender last night. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. We got a couple games this weekend. College football. What's not to love? Saturday, wall to wall. Let's go win some money this weekend, Rons. See you next week.
All right. Get your bets in responsibly. Come on, y'all. And now, George, maybe they need to hear from the real experts. Saints Raiders could get ugly, but let's hear your take. What's going to happen?
They're going to go up a lot, and everyone's going to be like, oh, here we go again, but we're going to see a little grit. I can't fake it.
Are we? Are we going to see some grit?
I feel like we're going to lose, man. I feel like we're going to lose. I really do. I just don't have much faith, and I'm sorry to say that.
Oh, man. Really talked you out of that take.
Dude, I just don't,
we're gonna
man.
see a little. I don't have it.
I can't fake it, man. Like, I'm always trying to be positive at the end of the show, but it's just what can you be positive about? I mean, the situation is positive that the rest of the division is bad too. It's like no one can swim, we're all drowning, but still drowning. You want some good news, guys? If you want to record your own Saints takes, you could do it at the Covington Beer Garden. I'm going to Best Buy. I'm going to have a recorder and a nice microphone, and you can record your Saints takes or questions live at the Covington Beer
Ooh.
Garden, and we will post the good ones on our podcast. That's at 436 North New Hampshire. Everyone in Covington already knows about it because they've been there 10,000 times. We had Grammy with his shirt off last weekend. We've had a great turnout thus far. He had to change into a suit. Saints, man, this is the bad
That's a great
days all
idea,
over.
George.
Yeah, dude. Love the new seg.
59th minute. Is it going to be called the Barrios microphone?
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to get some background music for my boys so they have a time limit.
You're going to have to put some kind of pay to play on that, so you got to limit it in some capacity.
Well, we're not gonna put everybody, but if it's good, like the liability, then we'll put it up. But if it's no good, you might not get on the show.
Yeah, limited storage, though. Barrios might be filling that up.
8 gigabytes, Barrios.
Cousin Dave was very critical of his cameo last week. I said, yeah, not as easy as it looks, huh?
Oh, you
Everyone's got the same reaction when they record. Humbling. Y'all want to come try it? Go to the beer garden. Put your segment in.
Or
Yeah.
sub for me next week if we lose.
Yeah, hey, big.
Yeah, hey, big. Where you at, dude? We need that voice on this podcast for the next Church Pisca people that have recorded and been on Pro Saints Talk.
People
So,
love
George,
that,
what's your
people love
prediction?
that. People love that smug attitude that Hey Big brings to the table. That's always a crowd pleaser. My prediction. Come on, okay, let's try to muster some confidence here. Shoot. All right. Maybe the defense causes some turnovers. Just don't think we have what it takes to win NFL games. I just think we're a very, very bad team.
Don't
Score?
13-30 Saints.
Oh,
13-30 Saints?
Dude, we're no good, man.
Raiders.
Raiders have 30. We have 13.
Michael Thomas coming back?
Thomas is not coming back. I don't think he is. I don't know. We're recording this Tuesday night.
Shit. Chris Olave is
Jay.
pretty.
What you got? Expert opinion.
Saints get the bounces this week for the first time all year. Lose 24-27.
All right. I am going to my bold prediction for this week is that fantasy owners rejoice at Alvin Kamara scoring not only his first touchdown of the year, but his first 2 touchdowns of the year.
Oof.
I think our boy Shaheed Shaspid.
Yeah, time for him to get a shout out.
Yeah, man. I think he burns him again on a deep ball. I think this time they bring in Taysom, a little trickery, and he's the one unloading deep.
Wait.
And
Why not play? I'm sorry to interrupt, but why not let Taysom play quarterback?
Yeah, just let him play quarterback.
Dude, he can.
dude, the reason,
I
how many times do I have to tell y'all? The reason he is not going to play quarterback and all this stuff, and he's going to be on a pitch count, is because they keep saying the dude's got cracked ribs. So like the more shots he takes defenseless like that in the pocket and like guys landing on top of him, at least when he's a runner, he can kind of control that. He can hit them in the shoulder pads. So I just think that's a little more conducive to him playing this whole season. So
just go until he's gonna get hurt. Just go full blast with Taysom, and then when the ribs crack, they crack and go back to Jameis or Dalton. But he alone can muster you some wins, as we've seen time in and time out. Stop. Jameis didn't work out. Dalton's on the brink of it. If Dalton fails this game too, then just go full blast. Clickbait.
So back to my prediction. I think Kamara gets his first couple TDs. I think Shaheed gets loose on a couple deep balls that move us down the field pretty good. And I think this is a week that you could see the defensive line get some pressures, get to Derek Carr on some pivotal third downs. I think they pull it out 27-23. So there you go. And we're riding a 1-game winning streak for the helipad. Just saying. So, all right. George, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Began with the get well soon to our boy Colin Keith, and we're going to end it with a get well soon for our boy Colin Keith. We do this for you, one of our 13 listeners, and we love you for it.
Try to tell you, Colin, dude, get vaccinated for the cold virus, man. Like, it's a big deal every year. All right, Jay, what you got?
No, what you got cooking for that tailgate in 11 days for Bama LSU for first place in the West for a rematch with University of Tennessee in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. What you got cooking on the grill over there, Ron?
Bruh. Okay, so look, I mean, coming off a couple heaters over here, did the pork butt for the Southern game, and proud to say that was the first tray cleared at the tailgate. Did my pork belly this past Saturday, first tray cleared at the tailgate. Tried my first turkey neck ever. It was pretty good. And so, yeah, I have not thought about it enough, Jay. I got the bye week to think about it, to make my Costco run, get my cuts of meat straight. But I'll be updating the Ron Nation next week for what is Ron cooking for the Bama tailgate. It's gonna be a big one. 6 p.m. Want to know where that Gus bus is at? Where you at, Tuck?
Curious what turkey necks taste like. Seriously.
Tender, dude. Tender. I mean, like imagine just like dark meat for a turkey, dude. Like that's what it was. It was great.
Nice.
And like honestly, it was like boiled in like essentially like a seafood boil. So it had a little kick to it. It was good, man.
Sounds better than Thanksgiving.
All right. I'm signing off now. Y'all had a
All right.
Wow.
Man. Turkey necks and Dennis Allen criticisms. That's what you get here. Pro Saints talk. We out here.
Got 0 listeners now.